Hi, Dr. Reagan Robertson, CCO of Productive Dentist Academy here, and I have a question for you. Are you finding it hard to get your team aligned to your vision, but you know you deserve growth just like everybody else? That's why we've created the PDA Productivity Workshop. For nearly 20 years, PDA workshops have helped dentists just like you align their teams, get control of scheduling, and create productive practices that they love walking into every day. Just imagine how you will feel when you know your schedule is productive, your systems are humming, and your team is aligned to your vision. It's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. We can help. Visit productivedentist.com/workshop. That's productivedentist.com/workshop to secure your seats now.
I want you to understand that from my perspective, I realize there are not only people out there that know a lot more in dentistry than I do, but I bet there's some people who know a hell of a lot more about business and about leadership and about how to deal with my team and how to get rid of stress in my business. And so that's where, for me, being able to have a coach help my team and hold my team accountable. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Bruce B. Baird, and you're listening to the Productive Dentist Podcast. In this podcast, I will give you everything that I've learned over the last 40 years in dentistry, working with thousands of dentists. I'll tell you, it's not that my way is the only way. It's just one that has worked extremely well for me, and I'd love to share that with you so you too can enjoy the choices and lifestyle that productivity allows. More time for things you love, increased pay, better team relationships, and lowered stress. Let's get into it with this week's episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast. Hi, this is Dr. Bruce Baird with Productive Dentist Podcast. We're going to talk about, is consulting or coaching worth it? And interestingly enough, and I say that a lot, interestingly enough. I don't even know what that means, but, some people go through their career and they never hire a coach. They never hire anything, and that's fine. And they become very, very successful. I can only speak for myself when I talk about coaching and when I talk about consulting or talk about advisors or talk about life coaches, all of this stuff. And I can only speak from personal experience, but one thing I think that helped me early on in my career is that I realized, when I was in dental school, I felt extremely comfortable talking to patients and working on patients. I feel like I was, God blessed me with good hands and the ability to be able to see the results before I actually started doing it. Matter of fact, one of my team members, I asked that question. I said, what is it? What's the difference between me and maybe one of our associates? And they just said, well, it seems like you know where you're going or know where you're going to end up. And I said, that's interesting, and I think it's important for us to evaluate ourselves and look internal. And one of the things in dental school that I realized was every time I would go up to the senior floor when I was a junior, or I would go to a course, I would go, wow, that is so cool. And what it allowed me to do, I think, is to realize that I didn't know everything. Duh, but there are a lot of dentists that come out of dental school that have so much ego that, oh yeah, I'm a dentist. I know what I'm doing. I mean, I have cut 5 crowns now and feel pretty confident. But even some of the best hands in my dental school class, they got out of school and never really saw much again. Not on continuing ed courses, not anything. They just went, said, I'm going to do dentistry, and that's it. Well, I mean, and that's everybody's prerogative to do whatever it is that you decide you want to do. If you want to get out of dental school and just go sit and see patients and in your town or your community, and that has been your goal and your dream, awesome. Just do that. Be happy. That's the deal. My goal in starting a dental practice, and I've said this on previous podcasts, is that I want to have a model practice. Now, what is that? I had no idea what it was, but I just knew there were other people out there. Rick Kushner up in Colorado back in, golly, this has been 33 years ago. I call him up out of the clear blue, and he was a lean and mean guy. He's still up there. And I called him out of the clear blue. I said, Rick, can I come up? And I just want to see what you're doing. And such a nice guy. He said, sure, come on up. And so I went up there, and I was just amazed at I never did multiple practices like he did, but I was amazed by all the things that he was doing and setting up these partnerships and in his practices. And I called up, I've called up a lot of dentists. I've called up a lot of people. One person I called back, this is not many years ago, but I found out who was the best guy in the world in sleep apnea. And it was Dr. John Remmers. And so I called John out of the clear blue and said, John, I want to meet you. I want to come see you. And so I got a chance to go see John Remmers, and John came and did a course for all of our PDA doc. I have called, I don't know, probably 10 different dentists because I realized that they were at the top of their field. I went through all of Pete Dawson's stuff. I went, anybody who I felt like, and this is different, this is education, and we're talking about consulting. But I guess why I'm saying this is I want you to understand that from my perspective, I realize there are not only people out there that know a lot more in dentistry than I do, but I bet there's some people who know a hell of a lot more about business and about leadership and about how to deal with my team and how to get rid of stress in my business. And I told you, about predictive analytics, and I became a much better version of myself when I realized the business part of my business. So once you do that, I would say you hire Productive Dentist Academy to come in and get your business running tip top. And at that point, you can pretty much, from that point on, you're not going to have to focus on a lot of those things. You're still going to have your goal setting. You're still going to have your bonuses. You're still going to have your profitability incentive points. But at that point, what you need more help on is no longer the business, but you need more help on learning about leadership, learning about, when I say consulting and coaching, I love, and I've had 9 different coaches and consultants in our practice. And that's minimal compared to what we've had individuals come in and just talk to our business. I've had so many different people. And why did I do that? And I've spent an enormous amount of money, but why did I do that? Because every time I go to a course, an education course, I learn something that increases either my communication skills, my ability to be able to produce dentistry at a higher level. The same with consulting and coaching. I love it when I have somebody who's been one of our coaches. And actually, Victoria, my partner with PDA, I first met her. She came into our business from doing hygiene consulting. And I'm not even counting the hygiene consultants we've had in. So I don't mind spending money because we're proactive. When things happen in our business, we take that information and we turn it into better results and what I think a more ideal practice, that model practice that I was telling you about earlier in the podcast. That's really what I'm thinking about. I want that model practice. And we were so far from being a model practice, and we probably still are. And that's fine, because continual improvement personally, continual improvement practice-wise, continual improvement in your marriage, continual improvement in your relationships with your kids, continual improvement is something you're not going to be perfect in anything. There's only one person that was ever perfect. But you can be excellent. You can be excellent at a lot of things as long as you're committed to excellence. And so that's where, for me, being able to have a coach help my team and hold my team accountable. I personally, as a leader, hold my team accountable, but I don't have to do, and I've trained my team on whatever aspect. If it's making a temporary, I train the people who work with me. I didn't care if they came from Walmart or had 10 years experience. Made no difference to me. I'm going to train you the way I want them to be made. and I'm going to hold you accountable to make them that way every time. And if I see that it's not, I'm not going to go ballistic like I would have 30 years ago. I'm just going to say, hey, you notice this little rough edge here? That's really tough on the tongue. Believe me, I've had a lot of dental work done. And they would say, oh, yeah, I didn't even see that. Okay. Or I go back in and I'm checking something. Look at this hunk of cement that was left. Got to be really careful with this cement. I don't say that with a patient sitting there, but I'll say, hey, you see that big white hunk of cement? Yeah, we don't want to leave that. That's not good for the tissue. All these little things. I train people. However, it's lovely to have somebody come in and what Productive Dentist Coaching does. I believe that coaching should be much more built much more like a football team. We have coaches for different areas. We have front office coaches that are people who used to work the front office. We have office manager coaches who were office managers. We have chairside coaches who were chairside. We have marketing coaches who do marketing. So it's like we have defensive back coaches, offensive line coaches, quarterback coach, and overall we have a head coach that works with you. So these are all things that, coaching, in my opinion, to get to the highest level possible, unless you're just one of those, and there are people out there. There are some out there that have built amazing businesses and have just done amazing things and probably never had a coach. I'm just not one of those guys. So I just want you to understand. And I've spent the last 25 years, 30 years trying to help dentists through coaching, through consulting, through lecturing, through all the things that we do, through financing, through, all those things. So hopefully this podcast has been interesting. You can always go to productivedentist.com and get more information. You could they'll look at your practice, give you some ideas. It's not a hard sell, but we're there we're there if and when you need us. So anyway, share this with your friends. Hope you enjoy the Productive Dentist podcast and stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, make sure you subscribe. Pass it along to a friend. Give us a like on iTunes and Spotify, or drop me an email at podcast@productivedentist.com. Don't forget to check out other podcasts from the Productive Dentist Academy at productivedentistpodcast.com. Join me again next week for another episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast.